Hi, welcome to Colors of Cariboo, the podcast where I interview rural artists and ask them why. Why create in a place where you get to understand what a fox in the henhouse really means? I'm your host, Rohan Keenan. We are often called to art in ways that aren't necessarily what we expect. Something inspires us, something makes us want to feel, or something makes us want to experience beauty. And those can be sparked by all manner of things. And given the right circumstances, that spark can turn into a burning passion, fueled by the life around us, our friends, our family, and our community. In this episode, we sit down with Julie Doerfling, a new artist to the Williams Lake scene, though she herself was born and raised in the region. Come listen to her stories of hockey, parenthood, and the inspiration she had to become a photographer and filmmaker, aided by her community and her personal drive to succeed. So, grab a chair, grab a drink, and let's get started. Welcome to Colors of Cariboo, stories of wild creativity.
Today's episode was filmed and recorded on the traditional, unceded territory of the Secwepemc peoples, specifically the Twahalcum, or Williams Lake First Nations Band, and the Hatsel, or Soda Creek Band. Hi everyone, welcome again to the show. Today we are interviewing Julie Doerfling. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Thanks for having us in this wonderful. Well, it's a little cold, but that's not what you're doing. But this wonderful barn on your property there.
Yeah.
I think temperature gauge is saying about 5?
7, I think.
7?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go with 7. Make it a little warmer that way. So, yeah. Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us here, and thanks for coming on the show. In your own words, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your history here, and what you do, and who you are.
Okay. Well, my maiden name is Julie Palmatier, and I am a Williams Lake First Nations band member. I was born and raised in Williams Lake. For almost 32 years I've lived here. And, oh God, I don't know where I'm going with that.
So you're born and raised in the area here, so you're quite familiar with the Cariboo Chilcotin.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat myself. I was also born and raised here. So, and you, so currently right now you live on a farm, or like you own and manage your own farm here. You're a mom, and you're also a photographer, right?
I guess I could have said oh my gosh, yes, exactly. I have a hard time talking about myself. But yes, I met James 12 years ago, and we got married when did we get married? In 2019. And our little rider came in 2021. He's now 3.5, and he's already running farm equipment, if you can believe that. And yeah, so we have some chickens. It's a little bit of a funny farm right now, but we're going to hopefully get into gardening. So
yeah, it's a very Caribou-ish life.
Yes. Yeah.
Very, very with that mentality of like
simplicity.
Yeah. Yes, which the Caribou's a good place for that.
Mm-hmm.
I know myself, I was born and raised here. I've gone off and done stuff. I've moved to the prairies and all of that fun stuff. But yeah, there's definitely there's this the simplicity and like the draw to this place. And have you ever lived anywhere else?
Growing up, in high school, I used to play at a pretty high level of hockey. And so I moved to Kelowna for a season, Prince George for a season, and then my last season I was in Kamloops. And at the peak of my hockey career in grade 12, and then I tried out for college and that didn't work out. So I had to pivot and I became a minor at Mount Poly. And then I had to pivot again and I tried out forestry for I think around 4 to 6 years. And then I got into construction. And then once I became pregnant and there isn't any childcare around that age. And like, I was not used to not working. I've never experienced that in my life. And it was really hard for me to not be working as a mom. And photography was like kind of like a last resort for me. I like spent my last dollar on a camera, used camera, and kind of just like went for it. And now here I am today on a podcast talking about my photography.
And like when did you start the like I guess it would have been in 2020, 2021ish?
Yeah. How old is Ryder? So he was born 2021. So 2022 is when I like launched. January of 2022 I launched becoming a photographer, self-taught, and I was like surprised with like the support, because being like a new photographer or like being new in anything is like really hard to start. But Williams Lake First Nation supported me, like invited me to all the events, and that's kind of where I got my kickstart. And then it also helped because like it happened in COVID, so you're like very isolated from community, from your family, and like your friends. So photography was like an outlet for me to be like more connected to people, and especially to my community. Like that's one of the first times I've ever felt a connection, and it was amazing.
And I mean, I'm just thinking that like you did this as when you were pregnant and starting with a newborn during COVID. That's impressive, and self-taught too. Like, yeah, that's a lot to go through. And so what was the draw to photography? Why was photography where you wanted to go?
Well, so as a kid, I used to like get my mom to buy me like those disposable cameras all the time, and I was really into it. And then like growing up in and seeing other kids doing that in high school was like intriguing, but like I just always thought that you need to go to school for it. And with James, like he would get interviewed and he would get to do like these filming trips, and so I got to see a lot of behind the scenes, and I was like, that'd be so cool. But again, like there was like a mental block where I was just like, you have to go to school for that, and it's too expensive, and like who do I think I am that I could do that? And then so the draw was I went on Facebook Marketplace, checked to see like what a good camera would cost. And I was like, I have that in my bank account. And then I was like to James, do you think I could be a photographer? And he's like, well, you can try it. And if it doesn't work, then just sell it. So that was like the initial thought.
It really is a lot of taking that plunge into those kind of situations and being able to just take that plunge. I'm really happy that you were able to take that.
Thank you.
It's like from like talking with a lot of artists, that's a big hindrance to a lot of people, is that mindset. And I've talked to folks who have been in that same mindset, and like even victim of it myself, of like I feel like I can't do something like this. I mean, this podcast is a great example. I wasn't sure that I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never tried it. But yeah, you don't really know until you do try.
Exactly. Yes.
And having support for that has been great. And you mentioned, your partner James has been really supportive with you for that.
So James was great support, and like his friends and like the film crews, like mostly Mitch Cheek. I don't know if you know who he is. He's pretty renowned, and he's...
Yes, because he there's a few films he's done in the region, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Yeah. I have heard of, yeah.
So he's like really close with James, and he was like my mentor with like any questions that I had. He would help, and like he would give it without asking for anything back. So that was really helpful. So shout out to Mitch Cheek, love you. And then another mentor would be my mom. So like if there was like any kind of like business things, or just like if I was unsure about anything, she was kind of just like my supportive mentor.
And then you've also done other projects too. You were part of, I believe it was the Empowered Filmmakers, and you did a short film with like in the region here.
I enjoyed that. I went kind of full tilt in that, and lots of people ended up liking the film that we made. And it's gotten to like go through Interior Health used it, and I think the Arts Council in Williams Lake got to use it. And so that was really inspiring to see that it inspired other sources of community. And that kind of like got me out of my comfort zone. And filming is kind of like my next step. Like I feel like that's something I want to go after more than photography.
Yeah, it's a different medium. It's like different way of telling stories and a different way of looking at things. And that actually kind of makes sense with just like how the progression of how everything's been going with you with that.
Yeah.
And like any plans for films? Like what kind of things are you looking at? Let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
What kind of, so like for your photography, what when I was looking at, like when because of course I always do a little bit of research just because I want to make sure that I'm not going in completely blind and being like, oh yeah, I'm just going to interview you. I don't know anything about you there, but like you do a lot of like weddings, you do a lot of like just like I've seen the family portraits, you've done graduations, you've done boudoir shoots, and of course I've seen the work that you've done with the Williams Lake First Nations band, and those are interesting aspects of things. And you said you've even been dabbling more into wildlife photography too.
Yes. So I started out as an event photographer for Williams Lake First Nations. And then I wanted to try, like when you're first starting out, you have to kind of do everything to see what you like. So I loved events. I love that so much still. And then I started and I really one of the biggest ones I loved was like our powwows. And that was kind of like my initial start. And I just I loved the colors. I loved the footwork. I loved the drumming, and just being in that was incredible. And any photographer that goes, they're going to say the exact same thing. It's just another otherworldly experience photographing a powwow. And then, so I still love that. And I still love any kind of cultural events. I still love doing that. And then, so I went in to try families, and larger families are fun, but they're just they make me a little anxious just because I don't know, they're just too big. So smaller families, I still love. Groups of 4, groups of 5 is kind of what I'm niching down to. And then I tried boudoir, and it's way harder than it looks, because you have to make sure that the women feel comfortable and that you're I don't know. It's that one's a little tough. I think I would need probably schooling for that. Yeah. And then graduation, that's a lot of fun.
It sounds like it's, again, kind of going back to that natural evolution of you've started here and then you're moving here, and then there's another stepping stone, and going from people, from families to events to families to the wildlife and to your surrounding area and your home.
Yes. Oh, before that though, weddings were so much fun, because it was one of my only ways to get invited to weddings, because I love weddings. I love so much. And so the first year was 2, second year was 4, and then this year 2024 was 12, and 12 was way too much. It's once you're done a 12-hour day with your couples, especially because I have scoliosis, and so I deal with back pain all the time, and I would just be a train wreck for 3 days, and because you're looking at this little camera lens like this all day, I'd have major eye strain for a week, and I was okay, weddings I'm gonna have to cut off, because my body just cannot handle that, and I don't know how photographers do that for 10 years straight. 3 was enough for me. So I'm definitely stepping away from weddings, and now my passions are definitely wildlife. I've had an experience with a fox here on this property. He was just tinkering around our area, and then there's this stump that has been cut off in our neighbor's pasture, and he kind of walked up on there, curled up on top of the stump, and just laid down. And I was I'm gonna go and try and take a photo. And so I crept up there, and I was talking to it the whole time I was walking up to it, and it was just watching me. And then finally I got probably from me to, I don't know what is a good reference. I was about 6 to 8 feet away from this fox, which is the closest I've ever been to a fox, especially with it laying down, and just happy to be there. And so I snapped a couple pictures, and I kept talking to it, and I was can I reach out and pet you? And that's when that fox got up and like walked away. But I was just like, it was like a good 10-minute interaction. And that's kind of what sparked the wildlife photography for me.
Who wouldn't be sparked by something like that? That is such a, it's a really unique way to be able to interact with wildlife. Because again, like a lot of folks probably have never even seen a fox in person before. And to be able to be that close to it and to be able to have that type of connection to it is, that's something special. And thank you for sharing that story.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's great to be able to see that, and that's kind of how art kind of works, is like you are showing a moment of your time. And photography, like I mentioned this because I've had talks with other photographers, and like we've all kind of agreed that like photography captures just like an amazing moment in time. It's just a snapshot of like that moment, which probably reflects a lot like that's why it's also really important to get those pictures of people during events and people during weddings and families. Like you're capturing moments for people and people in your community too.
The documentary part of it is what I love the most, because it's like the moments where people don't really know that you're taking those photos, and then you got them.
Yeah, those real moments there. And I've seen some of the work that you've done for especially the photos with the powwows there. They are striking. Like I think the last ones you've done, the last ones you had were ones where it's just like the dancers and everything else is just black. And it's like, it's so interesting to be able to capture that and show that. And especially because you're kind of a part of multiple communities, because you're part of the Williams Lake First Nations band, and then you're also a part of, you've got a farming community here, and then you're also part of the Williams Lake City. How does that feel to kind of be like to have like all of these different experiences, all these different communities, and kind of showcasing all of them to each other?
I think it feels like, for me personally, it gives me a sense of community for sure. Especially because I didn't really have so after hockey, like that was my community. And after that, I had like no idea who I was. And then like going through all those jobs, like sure, you have a job, like a job friendships or work friendships. And sometimes they don't go anywhere after you leave that job. And so after COVID and after having a baby, I really had to like find myself. And photography had really helped me with that, like especially with finding connections with people, families, my own community in Williams Lake First Nation. And like, yeah, bringing kind of like helping me find who I am and what I value. And it like really helped me see like my future and what I want to do, where I want to go, you know.
And give you the tools to express yourself for that.
Yes. Yeah.
As art is like, it's such an expression of oneself, and being able to like, and it's weird to think sometimes that an expression of yourself is taking pictures of other people.
Yeah.
But it's essentially through your eyes that you're capturing those images. And like, as you said, with the fox there, that's a moment that you're going to be able to tell that story. Like, you know, if you pursue going down to wildlife there, and you get big and famous and you're showing all this stuff to like National Geographic, you'll be able to pinpoint that picture. You'll be able to look at that picture and say, that's what started it all.
Yeah.
And you'll remember that moment in time. It's interesting, the stories that photos can tell about us.
Yes, for sure. It's been an amazing journey for the last 3 years. It seems like more, but it only really has been 3 years.
To be fair, COVID kind of lasted 20 years. It lasted a long time.
It did.
So like when you were doing hockey when you were younger, were you ever interested in doing photography or any kind of art when you were younger?
No, I like buried myself in hockey. Hockey was probably my creative outlet. Like, it was where I kind of got to be myself, and by expressing myself, like I love to skate fast. Like that was like one of my favorite things. And of course, scoring when I could. I can't really do that now. But yes, I loved hockey. I just loved the way it made you feel. and then having that community was awesome.
Yeah, finding that, like, being able to find that community is like so vital, and like I'm really sorry that you lost that at that time, and or like after that was all finished there, because that's like it's hard to lose stuff like that.
Yeah.
And being lost it sucks. And
for so long.
Oh yeah. And the rest of the jobs you've been doing too, like you've done a lot of manual labor, a lot of like hard, difficult jobs that don't necessarily speak to, like, you know, a lot of folks might not necessarily think, oh yeah, it's like you're a photographer, oh you must have been doing that all your life. And it's like, no, I was out shoveling, I was out building, I was out constructing, I was out being a worker.
Yeah.
And like, and you've kept up with some of that stuff too, because I think you've done coordination, or like you were a coordinator for like TRU for a bit for something. And
yeah. The coordinating with TRU was also in partnership with Williams Lake First Nations. So it was to help the band members kind of get into a trade that they like, and I think that one was carpentry, which is something that I really like. Like if I go back to school, I would kind of want to do something in the trades.
Yeah. Have you found that's been like influencing anything that you've done, how you've been approaching photography, especially as you were teaching yourself?
I would think it would go back to hockey. I think that's where I got a lot of my skills from, like my skill sets. I'm very coachable. So like any boss that had hired me, I was able to take what they tell me to do and do it correct and do it efficiently. And then obviously like teamwork, I've always been a team player, and that was easy for me to get into. But like leading up to photography, it would be like the hard work, and because like in hockey, you have to make sure, especially when you're on the off season, you have to make sure that you keep in shape and you're on top of your game. And so I had to do that in my off season in photography. And so I had to stay focused. I had to keep grinding, and I had to make sure that I was better than the previous year. Yeah.
There's that constant push, that constant, like, you need to keep learning. You need to keep like getting better and honing your craft there.
Yes.
And so like what are kind of some of the things you do? Because I think you do like, because you usually take bookings, but do you take time off with bookings to keep in that practice there?
So in the first year, I was yes. And so like, and I was like, really, I'll just do anything kind of thing. And I don't think I really took any time off. And then the second year, I took time off to go traveling. So that was like help my mental state. And then this year was supposed to be like my no year. I was going to say no to whatever. But then I ended up being a yes person again. And so that kind of set me back. But this following year, for 2025, I'm definitely going to take like my health and my time very seriously this year, like especially knowing that my limits were way over. Like I passed my limit this year. So I definitely want to take better time and care of myself.
Well, finding that ebb and flow is so difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to find those balances. And again, especially as you're starting out, like you want to, like when you have dreams and ambitions, you want to be like, yes, I want to do everything. I want to be perfect there. But it's hard to, for myself, I feel like stepping away from that kind of work there, because a lot of it before was lots of intense work, like seasonal work, and like working really hard for like 6 months and then having nothing for 3, or moving on to the next project and the next project, and then feeling like because I'm not working, I'm failing myself as like a performer and as like an artist and as like just a person. And that's like hopefully like hopefully you don't ever feel that kind of level of failure there, because it sucks. It's not fun.
Oh no, I feel it.
Yeah. Which honestly is like, I think a lot of artists feel that same, that same desire. And we definitely live in a society that really that places a lot of value on constant work ethic, constant, if you're not doing anything, it's wrong. It sounds like there's been a lot of like self-reflection that you've been able to have with this journey, even if it's only been for a couple of years here. It
has been a lot of self-reflecting. Like I think I've grown a lot as like a human being, just in like since becoming like a photographer. I don't know if that's the reason why, and also becoming a mother, like that has been eye-opening for sure. But yeah, just building your community is probably one of the biggest things that you need to do, especially as an entrepreneur. Making sure you have those support outlets for when you're at your lowest.
Exactly. One of the lessons one of the ways I was taught in my performance career was kind of that, like, you need to have, it's good to have all of, like, you learn everything and get everything in your box there. So when you are at your lowest, when you are having the most hardest time, you just like know, like, okay, I've got a tool for that. It's nice and easy there. And you can kind of equate that in the same mind of community and of like outreach and support there.
Yes. Emmy, she had found me. So like in my first year of photography, I had posted on this Indigenous site on Facebook, and I think it's for all of Canada, I want to say. And she ended up seeing some of my work, and she contacted me, and she was like, I would like to work with you. I was like, what, me? And so like since my first year, we've had a really good relationship. She's invited me, so they had their what was it called? So the first year it was just stock photos, which was lots of fun. And she kind of gave me like free reign on creativity, and she was happy with the result. And then in the second year, I think it was also stock photos. And then this year in February, I was invited to go and take photos at the 20th anniversary for First Voices. And so that was really inspirational to me because of like all of our cultural language is coming back, and it's like accessible through an app now. So like if for me, I'm a Shuswap, and I could just go on that app and I'll be able to like ask it a question and it'll be able to tell me in a Shuswap.
Oh, that's so cool.
It is. It's
that's
so cool. So and then there was like a woman probably about my age, like youthful. Sorry, that kind of sounds bad, but like not an elder. And she did the first prayer for this event, and I thought that was really inspirational because usually it's elders that do it, and like a lot of young Indigenous people are starting to learn their languages. When I was growing up, our language, like Shuswap, in like our schools, you basically learned the same thing you learned in kindergarten, you were learning in grade 12. And like a lot of non-First Nations would go into these classes just because it was easy. And so that was like really degrading and frustrating. And so I dropped out. I think in grade 10, I dropped out. And so I had lost a lot of that. So like really it's just words that I know in my language. And my mom, she has been taking Shuswap language, and I think she has like a couple more courses and she'll get her certificate and she'll be able to start teaching. So I'm like, please teach me and write her because I really want to know my language.
Yeah. That sucks as a story that was like that was going on. Yeah.
It might be different now, but when I was in high school, it was pretty sad.
Yeah, but like, again, as you were saying, like being able to like that there is more reconnection happening with that.
Yes.
And and so like, and are you taking steps to learn the language now, or you're like using the app and getting familiar with that?
Yes. And also like my mom is a really good mentor for that. And then this year I was asked to kind of do like some filming for a language event that was happening, put on by like Cody Williams, and I don't remember what it was called. It's like a Shuswap immersion, and they did it like out past Likely. I wish I remembered the lake. And it was like a week long, and they had elders out there and then younger people, and there's a few younger women who are just like maybe 4 years older than me that can speak Shuswap fluently, and that was also really inspirational. And like, I don't know, it's just so good to see that it's coming back.
Yeah. And you're participating in that, and you're the lens of those events. I would feel for myself, if I was in that position, that would be an honor to do something like that, and to be able to, like, because not only are you're taking photos for posterity's sake, but you're taking photos of those, again, as we touched upon, moments in time from your perspective, and being able to participate in that is that sounds really amazing.
It is. I still have to like do the editing and go through that whole thing. But that's my plan for December.
Yeah.
My rest period is going to be editing videos.
I mean, I'm happy you find that restful. Editing, I do not find that restful at all. But and actually, you know what? Editing is, I guess and I'm mostly thinking about it because like I've been doing a lot of editing on these podcasts and been doing that under a lot of stressful situations. But I don't really think I've talked to many people about the editing aspects of photography and the editing aspects, because that's just as much as part of the art as it as doing taking the initial photos.
Yeah.
Like how do you find doing that, especially as being somebody who is self-taught?
I enjoy editing very much. And I feel like that's kind of where I get my creative outlet through, like, on top of just the photography part. I want to say that my editing style is unique, but it might not be.
I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of things that aren't that good, but they're unique to you, and that's because, I mean, art is like, it is something that you have to put a piece of yourself in.
Yeah.
Like no matter what you're doing, even if you're doing just like generic stock photos, generic stock something. I mean, it's still, you're the one behind the camera. You're the one behind the computer doing that. So it still is. Yeah, it's completely uniquely you. It's still. I mean, it might look similar to other people's. You might be taking inspiration from other people's, but it's still you. It's still who you are, and as you said, it's a part of your expression.
I like that. I like that a lot.
It's the reflections of art.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. That sounds like it's like some bad book title or something like that. Reflections of art. The art of art.
Yeah. I try, like, I am really drawn to color. Like, I like to make sure that I keep as much color as I can in my photos without oversaturating. I try badly not to oversaturate things. And I really like light. Like I love the whites in photos and sometimes the shadows, but I almost want to kind of make it seem like you would be there in that photo. Yeah.
Oh, and that's a great way to look at that. It's because it's easy to envision that. And I mean, it's easy to Photoshop yourself into a photo, but you're still not there for the event or the time there.
Yeah.
And it's I'm happy that editing works for you. And it's I mean, it's probably a lot different than film editing and stuff like that too.
Yeah, film editing is a lot harder because you have to re-listen how many times to the audio, make sure it tracks with the video. Oh my god, and the B-roll. I'm just like, it's kind of a nightmare, but
I'm happy that, like, with the podcast, I don't have to do a ton of B-roll.
That's
so
good.
We do like little intros every year. Like we do an intro sequence there, and we'll get some B-roll here and there. But for the most part, no, we had lots of thoughts about B-roll, but it's mostly the important thing is like getting to talk to people, getting to make you sound good. So. All right. So as we get to the end of the podcast, the end of the interview, I've got 3 questions that I ask everybody here. So the first question is, if you could spend a week with anybody, past or present, who would that person be, and why would you spend a week with them?
A week? Present,
past, whoever you might think it might be.
Oh, that one's hard. That one's so hard. I would probably, if I could, for a week, spend it with my child. I do that any chance I get anyway, but a week straight would be amazing.
I'm touched. That's such a great answer. Thank you for that.
Welcome.
Now the second question is, what is your favorite compliment that you've ever received?
Ooh. I don't know. You might have to go back to that one.
That's all right. We can go back. And it could also be a compliment that you give yourself too.
Not very often. Not often enough.
I feel that one. So question 3, which I think you've kind of touched on a little bit there, is what has been the most important piece of advice that you've given? Or if you haven't received that advice, what advice do you wish you had been given?
If you have a dream or multiple dreams, go for it. Find a mentor, find your community, find your person, and find yourself and go 100% into it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Honestly, you can't really say anything better than that. Just go for it and
Go
do
for it. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I think we're getting a little cold. We're getting a little chilly.
A little chilly.
So thank you so much for being on the podcast and
Thank you for having me. That was, as nervous as I was, that went pretty smoothly. I think.
It's been very smooth. And is there anything before we go? Is there anything that you're currently working on or that you've got aspirations to be working on in the future?
Yes. So aside from photography, I'm gonna kind of take a little break if I can. We'll see if I can say no. But my film project, or like a film passion project that I'm kind of working on, but it might not happen until next year, is, have you guys heard of Tea Creek at all?
I've heard of it, but I don't know too much about it.
They started a farm and they ended up doing a video on it, and like the same time that came out was when I had like pitched this to, because I started working for Williams Lake First Nations community garden. I pitched to them that I wanted to do like a passion project to film the garden, just to get that community involvement, because that's one of the things that the ranch and the farm is really struggling with. And when I worked there this summer, like that was like another level of, wow, I can do that. I can grow a garden, a successful garden, and just like knowing everything that goes into it, like the water, the land, your soil. And one of the big things that I loved is that like when you love your garden, it will love you back. Yeah. And it's like so rewarding. Do you guys like pickled beans at all? I'm going to send you away with a jar because it's so good.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's even better to have you on the podcast now. We'll have you on next.
Wow, I've got to send you away with something. Yeah.
Thank you. That's that sounds fantastic. That sounds great. Perfect. So thank you for being on the show. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode. So take care everyone, and take care.
Thank you so much.
You too. Hi everyone. Thanks for joining Julie and I for the penultimate episode of the season. That barn was just a little on the chilly side, but we wanted a chance to show off that tough Cariboo spirit while we were sharing some of Julie's fascinating journey. We'll see you on the next episode, so take care till then.